Literacy Strategies to Increase Reading Success in After-School Programs by Brenna Davis. There were several reasons why after-school program reading strategies interested me. First was because I've been there. I attended an after-school program in elementary school, and it really benefited me. My mom always talks about how she saw a huge difference in my reading after I attended, so it caught my interest just because of personal experiences. Secondly, it's appropriate for my job. As an early childhood teacher, it's appropriate to know successful strategies not only in after school programs but for day to day use. And then lastly, just potential involvement. As a new teacher, I think you're always looking for ways to get involved in the district and the community, and this seemed like a good research topic to maybe learn more about and implement one, because currently in the elementary school I'm at, we do not have one. When talking about the historical background for literacy strategies used in after-school reading programs, I feel it's important to note that they are a newer occurrence. One common starting point I found in many of the studies related to the No Child Left Behind policy that was implemented in 2001. No Child Left Behind set new standards for early childhood students to be reading at grade level by third grade. And in order to help the United States students attain the goal of academic proficiency set by the program, the No Child Left Behind program provided funds for supplemental educational services. So that led to a lot of the after-school programs that we see now. It's become more common in the last 25 years. Many of the studies I read through reported similar research on the effectiveness of supplemental educational services on student achievement, and many known studies are conflicting. Multiple researchers have found that supplemental services increased student achievement, while others have found very little effect on after-school or supplemental programs. Much of the variation in the reported results on the effects of tutoring programs may have resulted from different research designs and utilized by different researchers, so they kind of affect the research just on their own. As far as the effective literacy strategies specifically are concerned, since the National Reading Panel released their study in 2000, experts and teachers have focused on strategies related to phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, reading fluency, and comprehension. These 5 components were present in almost all of the studies I came across, with strategies focusing on bettering them. So since the National Reading Panel report came out, the 5 areas that we all know of are pretty common in the successful strategies and what people are using. To discuss findings, first I'd like to give an umbrella conclusion regarding what helped after-school programs achieve success with literacy strategies. So some of the things I found consistent with the studies that had success with strategies is that they were explicit with instruction, they were well organized, they were very encouraging with the students and the process of the research, and they were having fun. For the studies that showed growth in student scores, they contained all of the above. Now on to more specific strategies and specific studies. Of the several resources I have, I selected a few to share that offer different results and different setups. First, example number 1, focused on strategies that were explicit. The study relied on systematic instruction in phonemic awareness, phonics, recognition of high-frequency words, and sentence reading in 2 basic reading lessons every day. Some of the strategies they implemented were a read aloud with active discussion, drawing out vocabulary words, and student-led stop and answer techniques. The results of this study indicated that students who attended the intensive summer reading program made significantly better gains on measures of word reading and listening comprehension when compared to students who did not. This study was extremely organized, very explicit, and well thought out, and I think that showed in the results. Example number 2, In this study, it was reported that teachers used practice books, computer-assisted programs such as Study Island, and skill-related board games as teaching and learning strategies. This study did not show an increase compared to similar peers who did not attend the tutoring. This study seemed to be lacking the explicit instruction and organizational pieces mentioned before, which may have resulted in not an increase in the scores in their students. The example number 3 used verbal questioning, phonemic awareness, sight word reading games, figurative language games, an accelerated reader program, and displayed an increase on the state comprehension test for ELL students. I selected this one because it just showed that they were working with 20 ELL students specifically, and I think they selected strategies and techniques that were really crucial for them, especially the figurative language, because we know that the figurative language and sometimes the way the English language is spoken is not as understood, especially for students who are not English language originally speaking. And then the last example was an online program. The layout consisted of a pre-reading lesson with front loading, a digital presentation of the story, and then a comprehension exercise that focused on main ideas and predicting. And this study did show significant increase on in the state comprehension test. In that last example, it was a little different. It was an all-online program for students, and just some of the different strategies that they used on there that were similar to in person, but you're doing it on a computer, so it's a little bit more differentiated. The 4 selected examples show growth that did not occur in an after-school program. There was a mix of organized studies with semi to little organization. The programs provided after-school programs online or face-to-face. Some of them were during the summer, some of them were after school. There are so many different strategies we can teach in so many different ways, and remembering that learning is not one size fits all is really important. The stakeholders in this topic, I feel like, is almost everyone involved in education. First, the students, especially those who are below grade level and who need to increase their literacy skills. Next, the teachers who are investing their time and energy into teaching the most effective strategies. The parents who arrange their schedules to better their students' reading abilities. The school districts who organize and approve all the additional activity in order to improve their district's literacy scores, and the government who is providing funding for programs and hoping to increase the literacy scores of our students as a nation. I'd say the future on this topic looks really bright and looks like there should be a lot more research to come. I know that since I've been in college and teaching, I feel like literacy is such a large component of what we spend a lot of time doing with professional development or taking extra classes on or getting your master's in reading. So it's really important, and I think that as a nation we're seeing a need to increase the scores and just be more aware of how to teach it and what the best ways are. We are still continuing to search for effective ways to teach literacy and close the achievement gaps in students, and the more research on the topic, the more we will benefit our schools and our students. If I was going to conduct my own research on the topic, my question would be more specific on how strategies need to be taught. So not necessarily what the strategy is, but how to do it. So what would be the minimum amount of exposure to a strategy and how much repetition before teachers saw a true consistent change in students' abilities? And that would go between a high-ended learner who would only need a little bit of exposure to the kids who need just constant reminders, and maybe I would like to research a little bit more like not just the strategy, but how you can keep implementing the strategy in different ways, whether it be like a tactile, a verbal, a song, just different ways you can teach the strategies to help the kids retain the information. Here are my references. I can't wait to hear all of your presentations, and thanks for listening.